The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm the host and co-chair of the webinar. My name is Karen Mann, and I have my co-chair, Sadita, with me. We represent Human Development and Leadership Division of American Society for Quality. This is a global division among to enrich the personal and professional lives of our members and non-members across the global community. We continuously look for new speakers within the range of our body of knowledge, which can be found in my ASQ HDL community site. We host monthly webinars. If you're interested or know someone interested, we would be happy to review their application. Before we begin the webinar today, let me go over some webinar rules. If there's any question or comment, please type under question tab and we will answer the question. The webinar will be held for 45 minutes and we will have a question and answer time for 15 minutes with our speaker. Those who attend for 40 minutes will receive 0.1 CEU through an email which you can save and use to claim your credit with ASQ. So today we're very delighted to introduce to you our speaker, and that will be talking for the next 1 hour. And our speaker today is Luciana Paulise. Luciana Paulise is a coach, an author, and a speaker. She's the owner of BizStorming Training and Consulting US and Argentina, which specializes in 5S implementation and agile business coaching. She is ASQ certified quality engineer and has an MBA from CEMA University in Argentina. Paulise is an ASQ senior member, the current chair of the ASQ Beaumont section, and chair for the Port Arthur Chamber Hispanic Council. She's the author of SOS PYMES 20 Claves Para Ponticare Voice for the ASQ, quality professionals and online influencer who raise the voice of quality on their personal blog. She was the 2014 recipient of the DMENT grant and elected as one of the 40 global leaders of quality by Quality Progress. And in 2018 was awarded the Startup of the Year in Texas. Luciana, that is an amazing, amazing bio, and we're looking forward to hear from you and learn from you for the next 45 minutes. And the floor is all yours to start.
Thank you very much, Karen. Thank you very much, Sarita. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for being with us today for this webinar on tips to hire, train, and retain millennials. So just wanted to make sure that everybody here listens well. Everybody is able to listen? Okay. So let's get started now. So just in case you would like to take any pictures of whatever we're going to see in the presentation, or you want to tweet or send on Instagram, this is the hashtag that you can use, the We Culture, or so that you can start sharing the way the millennials do. All right. So let's get started. In the last 2 decades, the workplace has really been evolving to prioritize teamwork and eliminate silos. Though it's not easy task to accomplish, today's workforce includes so many generations already. The problem is that different generations have essentially different working habits, which makes it difficult to sustain a culture across the organization in regards to customer service, safety, continuous improvement, or anything else. So this disconnection or disengagement impacts the organization, resulting in high rates of absenteeism and low retention. And especially this is given with the younger generations. So the youngest employees, millennials and Generation Z, represent already 50%, or we represent 50% in many workplaces by 2020. So the question here is how to attract, train, and retain them and keep them engaged. So for the ones maybe that are not very well aware of the different generations, these are mostly the generations that we have at work today. We have the Gen Zs that were born after 1995. Then we have Millennials, which were born between 1980 and 1994. Then we have the Gen Xers, or Generation X, which were born between 1965 and 1979. And then we have the Baby Boomers, which were born between 1944 and 1964. So every generation has different values, different ways of communicating, and different ways of feeling motivated. So, for example, Gen Xers complain that millennials are not committed to work. Millennials complain that Gen Xers are not passionate at work and they work too hard. They stay alive and too late. And baby boomers want to call Gen Zs on the phone, but Gen Zs want to reply by sending a picture. So these differences impact a lot how we can communicate and work better together. So let's do a small poll. So I want you to notice if you can answer this question, which is, I just want to know if you are a millennial or a Gen Z, meaning that if you were born after 1980, yes or no?
So we will launch a poll and just respond yes or no. We'll give it a few seconds. We have a pretty active audience as usual.
Awesome.
So, yeah, we're at 72% already. Okay, so that's quite interesting.
How are we doing?
I feel like who's here is who wants to learn about them. So that's kind of expected as well. So we'll close it and we'll share the results. So we have about 72% who are not.
Wow.
Yes, and 20 who are. Quite interesting. So a lot to learn.
So this is not surprising, as you were saying, because yes, you work with millennials, and you know, who are these millennials? What are they doing, right? Are really they so different? Are millennials really that different to the other generations? And well, yes, the answer is yes, profoundly so. And millennials will change the world decisively, just like other generations did in the past too. So every generation has different things, goods and bads. There's no good or bad generation. That's the first thing that I want to learn. So some comments about millennials. So millennials don't just work for a paycheck. They really want a purpose. So that's the way they choose the company. Millennials are not pursuing job satisfaction. They are pursuing development. Millennials don't want bosses. Maybe they want coaches. Millennials don't want annual reviews. They want ongoing conversations. The way millennials communicate, texting, tweeting, doing Skype or whatever, they do different ways of communicating, and it's always real time now and continuous. Millennials don't want to fix their weaknesses. They really want to develop their strengths. So that's why we recommend that cultures at companies are based more on the strengths, not trying to covering on the weaknesses that the employees have. So if you don't start working on that, it will be difficult to attract this and keep the stars at work. And really, one of the key things is that millennials don't want a job. They really want something that is aligned to their life. So that's why 20% of millennials are entrepreneurs of self-employed. As you can see in this post, in this image, there are millennials send about 20 texts per day. They're very different to what other generations would do in the past. So we need to learn more about what they like and what they do, because it's not only at work, but that's also the way they buy. Okay, for example, we compare the biggest generational gap, which is between millennials and the baby boomers, right? Which comparison, for example, the baby boomers were born right after the Second World War, so they are very much impacted by all the things that happened after the war. So baby boomers are more me-oriented, more family and integrity are key for them, while millennials focus more on friendship, happiness, passion, and sharing. So again, imagine that this is not only for how they work, but how they buy things, how they choose things, how they raise their kids. So this changes a lot how we're gonna to communicate to each other. Right? So if you check these facts, the most affected industries are mainly sales, finance, and IT, which are the preferred ones by these younger generations. Given that millennials continuously seek new challenges, it's just very difficult to keep them in the same position for a long time. For example, retail businesses, call centers, and business support centers, where the professional development is horizontal, or most of the positions are really entry level, we need to look for different strategies to attract, train, and retain all these employees that are looking for challenges all the time. And there's a report that reveals that 21% of millennials say they have changed jobs within the past year, which is more than 3 times the number of non-millennials who report the same. So they are not afraid of leaving a company. And what happens if we don't do anything about this, right? What happens if we cannot really hide these facts? So we will really have an impact on the bottom line in our company, not only with our employees, but also with customers that are also starting to be more Gen Zs and millennials. So this is what a lot of researchers said, like 20% of the productivity can be boosted for companies that have a higher engagement rate. Then you can spend, American businesses are spending more than $300 billion for unhappy employees. That means that employees that are leaving the company or that are being changed all the time. That costs a lot to the businesses. In a survey of 2,000 employees, almost half, that is 43%, said that they are looking for a new job. And corporate culture was the main reason for that. And the last thing is that 92% of the employees that they would be more likely to stay with their job if their bosses would show more empathy. And we're going to talk about bosses and leaders a bit more later on, but this is key for millennials. So, well, we can say that the problematic guys are the millennials. So what's the solution? So you don't hire any millennials. You hire all Gen Xers and baby boomers that work at any time and at any hour. Well, if you are a quality fan like me, you would say, well, we have to listen to Edward Deming again, who would have said and work on the system to benefit from millennials. So Edward Deming would say that 96% of the problems are really originated by the system, defined by the leaders, and the other 4% is due to special costs, meaning that, maybe we can fire the millennials, but we'll still have to fix the system to really solve 96% of the problems that we're having. So what is this system that we're talking about? So this is the old paradigm. I think that this is a pyramid of hierarchies that everybody knows. Many companies still have this type of organization, of way of organizing their people, right? So this means that some people are good and some are bad, like the associates that are at the lowest part of the pyramid. They're the ones that need to learn. They are the ones that are in a bad position. Then the good ones are the ones on top. And where are the clients? Where are the clients? We don't care, and we're producing and they will buy our products, right? But this is changing through time. Now we see more often that really clients are looking for different things. Clients are more, they just don't want to buy whatever, so we need to listen to them more. But still, we have these traditional companies that focus, have very vision that is focused on short-term objectives, or if there are any long-term objectives, they are not shared with the employees. They are right there on the top. So, so information is really shared with a small amount of people. So that impacts communication, right? Employees are evaluated yearly, awarded based on individual performance, and competitions and rankings are encouraged. I know a lot of companies that still have rankings where there's someone that is on the #1 and someone that is on the last percentile, and that makes them very difficult for them to keep developing, right? Decision making is, again, as we talked about, objectives and communication. So if we don't have information, decision making is also done at the top. It's not done at the last part of the pyramid where we have the customer, right? So imagine that you have the employees very close to the customer, but whenever you have to make a decision of returning the product or doing a discount or helping the customer, you have to go up to the top for a decision, right? So that impacts also time management. Employees check with management when there is a change in a task, priorities, or again, an issue arise. And that it's very complex, to build a team or to build autonomy within the employees, because they always have to go back to the manager. So this is not very much aligned to global changes that we see all the time, like, for example, innovation that is starting to be, again, requested by the customers. They want, we need more innovation due to the more dynamic and global competition. Some now companies are competing with companies all around the world with communication, internet, and so many apps that we have nowadays. It's very easy that even, I don't know, I used to live in Argentina, and it was like that. You can compete with someone from India or from the US, and it was, it was fair, right? Inclusion and engagement also, it's very crucial across different generations. As we discussed before, products need to be more customized, quality, and is doing the right things and become the customer favorite. It's key today. And some front runner companies are also realizing that they need to work on teamwork and self-discipline, because that's the only way that you can really get your job done. You cannot wait for your leaders to always make decisions or keep the pace for be involved in every matter. So many changes don't allow this to happen anymore. So now more and more companies are looking forward to shared vision, time management, decision making, and communication. These aspects need to change. So really, millennials don't appreciate this type of hierarchies that we're seeing in this pyramid. So they want more sharing and learning, which can only occur in a different type of setting. So in this type of setting that I'm showing here is kind of an inverted pyramid where nobody is really good or bad, right? We look for more looking at the strengths. Everybody has strengths that we need to unleash as leaders. So new leaders need to let go of micromanaging the day-to-day activities to become really successful facilitators for these millennials. So to be able to adapt to the changes, organizations need to change from this pyramid to a network, or the way I see it, more like a diamond, where all the faces of the diamond are connected and depend on each other to remain strong and shiny. So really the reason why diamond is shiny is just because it's not by itself, it's just the reflection of light on each of the characters. Like, we need to unleash the power of each of the leaders, team members, the community, the suppliers, so that our diamond really shines. The reason why I also like the metaphor of the diamond is because if you know a bit of chemistry, you will realize that the diamond is formed by carbon. The same element can make also graphite, right? Which with the same elements, that's all you need. But the difference is that graphite, you can get pencils, right? So would you like to make with carbon, with the same element, would you like to make pencils, or would you like to make a diamond? What would you like to be? So it all depends on how all these cards are united, how you are going to make all these team members work together. If they don't work together, so they become like a pencil. If they really work strongly together, we can make sure that each of them unleash their power, so then you will have a diamond. So we're looking forward to having really a shift in the culture from a me culture, which is the one we will be seeing in the companies formed by baby boomers, to a more a we culture when everybody is respected and everybody is important. So yeah, we still have a vision, but the vision is more focused on purpose, not just objectives. So this purpose may mean that you have to be more innovative, right? You have to think about what is it that your company wants to achieve and for whom. Then we are, instead of focusing on communication, just making sure that we do our annual review with the employee individually, and that's it. Communication needs to be more continuous so that we can ensure engagement with the employees. Then customer focus, again, it's not just about seeing what's the reports and trying to make a decision based on that, but really being close to the customer and focusing on what they really want. And last but not least, how we are going to change the time management. Are we keep on focusing on what the leaders want us to do, or can we form teams that are more autonomous and can be more, every employee can be self-disciplined, and we can use the strengths of each of the employees to get better results, right? So it's really a time for a change. There's something that we need to do about this so that we can get the results that we want in this changing environment. So how are we going to do this? That's the real question. So that's how we have to make recruitment part of the culture, really. Company needs to be recruiting all the time. Recruiting needs to be a cultural objective and embraced by everyone in the company, because we know that some employees will leave, but we need to work hard on that. So many companies, for example, are encouraging employees to reach out to their network to find potential candidates. So maybe friends or some companies from some other workers from that they know from universities, so that they make this strong bond among them, so that they can make this diamond shine. So to recruit this generation, it is very important to show the benefits of belonging to the organization and not just focus on the salary. They are usually interested in being part of the organization that show interest in the community and environment. They also want to know about career opportunities, training possibilities, flexible hours, and vacations. And yes, we had to say that up front from the very beginning. I know a lot of people that have told me that whenever they're doing an interview, they just tell them, well, I have a trip, like in 3 months, can I stay away of work for 1 month? And yes, you will have that more and more often. Vacations and flexibility is very important for millennials. So making sure the employees are a good fit for the company is very important in order to not to spend money on someone that will leave the company really soon. So that's why then you hire training is also very important. Zappos, for example, it's a shoe company that depends on Amazon. It provides a 4-week customer service training to everyone who joins the company. Again, we said that everyone is important at the company. So there's not training just for leaders or just for employees. No, actually the leaders are calling leaders. Could become a customer service representative tomorrow, could do different things, depends on different projects. Nothing is so fixed now. So this is a picture that you can see is how they promote. They have a culture manual, and this is how they promote the new hire training. They like pictures, and they like to have very, very creative environment. So they also, on top of the 4-week training, they have 2 interviews. one for technical fit, another one for culture fit. And both need to be a yes for the person to get into the company. And once they finish their training, they offer, and this is almost, I guess, the only company that I've heard that they do that, they offer like $2,000 to the ones that want to leave the company right after the training. Yes, before even joining. So this is a proof of loyalty and long-term thing. If you take it, okay, you take it, but it's good that you're far away from my company because you're ready to leave all these, not stay in the company just for $2,000. So they don't want that type of people. They want people that are committed and that love to work for them. So they say, Zappos says, they say hire slowly for culture and fire quickly for culture. So it's very important for them to keep the right culture among all the employees. And of course, I was so engaged with Zappos that I wanted to visit them. So I went to Vegas, which is their headquarters. And as you can see in my picture, they have lots of fun things at work, including this little balls pool that I really enjoyed visiting. They also have a place to sleep. While you're tired, you just go to sleep for 15 or 30 minutes. And it's dark and very comfortable. Also, you have the possibility, for example, to bring your pet to work. So they also, for example, develop 10 values to build their wheel culture. And when I'm saying they, it's the owner of the founder with their employees. They did a poll, and that's the way how they define which were their values. And one of them is create fun at work. Yes. So you remember, if you also, again, are a Deming fan, you will remember that he would say also that joy and fun at work was very important. I'm going to quote Deming now. So in place of competition for high rating, high grades, to be number one, there will be cooperation on problems of common interest. The result will in time be greater innovation, applied science, technology, expansion of market, greater service, greater material reward for everyone. There will be joy in work, joy in learning, and everyone will win, no losers. And this was back in the 70s, in the 80s, that already Deming said this. And I'd like to show you Glassdoor, which is one of the sites used by millennials to look for companies, to when they're looking for a job. And they go to Glassdoor because they share. They want to know more about the companies. Again, before joining, it's not just about the salary, but they want to know what are their interests. So millennials love peer reviews. So they Google, they go to the website and see what other people are saying about these companies. So they're able to go to Glassdoor to see what other people think about a specific workplace or management style. So these are some of the comments that I have read. And for example, an employee saying flexible hours, ability to expand beyond product roles, great boss, open and fun office environment. So they like that. It's an awesome company because there are so many different career paths. My managers have been great with helping me to explore and get promoted into different departments. Another one said, ability to make a difference and contribution toward our mission every day. If you are not in the best position to do that, then you can speak to the management to do so. So as you can see, they are not focused on the salary. So once you hire the employees, you need to deliver what you promised to keep them happy. So retention is now very important. To retain employees, you must build an environment that has a clear purpose and fosters loyalty and growth to be able to connect with them. Millennials constantly require feedback from their leaders to see if they're moving to the right direction. They also need mentors and coaches to help bridge their lack of corporate knowledge. That is why any tool that helps to evaluate and show performance can be useful to motivate young employees, especially in very standardized jobs. For example, I'm showing here a picture of how to conduct a meeting. Includes things that maybe the Gen Xers already know, or they know how to behave in a meeting. But now with the millennials, you have to tell them, hey, this is what you need to be careful. This is how we would like to work. And sometimes meetings have also changed a lot. Some companies just do like stand-up meetings, 10, 15 minutes, or they just do them online. Some things are changing a lot, not only for millennials, but for everyone. So some companies offer platforms with challenges, rankings, and miles to help employees get motivated to reinforce certain activities like selling or learning. So they use like kind of games. Other companies, again, like Zappos, give the opportunity to the employees to rate or reward each other. So instead of waiting for an approval from a supervisor or feedback from a supervisor, you are listening to someone doing a very good customer service to a real customer, so you can rate them or you can reward them. Many companies like GE, Honeywell, HubSpot, Netflix, or Dropbox are also offering unlimited vacation days and offer more days of maternity or paternity to all or some of their employees. Especially what we're looking for is to avoid a system that promotes individual competition, like rankings or individual bonus. Some companies have self-set salaries. Some have equal profit sharing. So different ways of offering salary. The objective is to narrow salary differences and foster team working. And last but not least, offer more freedom and agility. Millennials work at their best when they feel that they have the power to make decisions. They find goals or they find how to work. More companies are working not by sector, like accounting here, and engineering there, but are building multidisciplinary teams by customer or by product with people from purchases, manufacturing, design, and sales, all on the same team. Teams no more than 12 people, but they have people from every sector. So everyone in the team can hire or can improve the process. Managerial positions and staff positions like HR or even quality experts are being replaced by team members that are taking over on this. Skills, as universities are not yet focusing on them. And maybe some people never focused on that in the past. So now soft skills are very important. And everybody, not only millennials, but our baby boomers need to be skilled on that. For some companies, even the onboarding process is key, as we mentioned before. As professionals, rank training opportunities are more valuable than promotions. Really, there are many offering they are offering different ways of learning. So sometimes they offer not only trainings online, they're also offering like regular training sessions on site, things that are more practical, like activities in the work, blogs, also videos are very much preferred training tool for the new generations because they like the flexibility of being able to train where, when, and how they want without having to commit. And again, it's not that they just don't want to move, but they also would appreciate that if you do some kind of work very, very much like a workshop inside the company. So basically what they want is variety so that they can adapt to whatever their needs are at the moment. And the last one is also offering the possibility of doing reverse mentoring. I don't know if you ever heard of that. That is millennials mentoring the C-suite on technology. Learning must also be across sectors. So you are learning could be either way, from the baby boomers or the Gen Xers to the millennials or to the Gen Z, or could be from millennials to the C-suite, again, on technology or or new tools or new apps that we have. And it's as we will have multidisciplinary teams, that means that you will be learning not only from people from other, older people or people working like a supervisor, but also from different sectors. Like you can learn from IT, or you can learn from accounting. Again, as we said before, everyone is responsible for innovation and for quality. Everyone will do that, not only a Six Sigma black belt. So as you can see, employees want more freedom to do the work your own way. That's where what they are, that we're looking for. So how do we get there? Yep. So we're here. How do we get to where we can communicate and work across generations? So I've already give you several tips on what companies are doing, but I will say that first you would have to get to know your customer. That is really listening to your team members and see what they need, what kind of generations they are, try to adapt whatever they want to the way you work. Some companies are looking for personality tests, like the Myers-Briggs. That companies even use the Zodiac to learn what kind of personality the employees have. So then you need to review your values and incorporate new habits and routines so that they are more in line with your employees. I was talking about Zappos, that they did like a survey with the employees to try to see which were their values or the values they see in the company, to try to define which were, how to make this culture book. So again, nothing is now coming just from the top, but everything can come, rules can come from anybody. For example, doing more projects with team members from different sectors could be a way to change, promote more autonomy, giving the employees the ability to have their own goals or define how to do the job, listen more to what they want, give more feedback, democratize the process of sharing information using more boards or using stand-up meetings to communicate more often, avoid rankings, and have more team-oriented work environments. Like many companies are trying to avoid closed office and using instead round tables or tables that could be managed and changed different based on the project. Companies like Zappos or many others like Google, when you go into the company, you just don't have a specific table or working space for someone. Like anybody can take any type of space, and they can be outside, they can sit on a couch. Well, they have different ways of working, and it depends on whoever works there. So once you have reviewed your values and habits for your company, you will need to train the leaders to adapt to these new generations. So a 2018 survey found that poor management was the top reason for UK employees weren't happy in the current roles. And comparable US studies also suggest dissatisfaction with leadership is commonplace. So training needs to include coaches and mentors that help these leaders build new habits to increase feedback sessions, listen more, and be more a facilitator than a director. So instead of just telling what to do, asking more questions. Yes, you just have to be patient. Changing a culture, shifting to a work culture is not easy. That can be done. You just need to go step by step, try to make changes, to make to share more information, to change communication. Keep moving forward and keep adapting, basically. So what are the results of this? Well, team-oriented cultures, or weak cultures as I call it, allow employees to break the silos and share more resources instead of competing for them. So it's really a virtuous cycle. Well, employees that, like, remember, 50% of the employees will be millennials or Gen Z. So you have to work on making them feel happier, more satisfied at work. So they are more engaged and provide better and safer solutions for the customers, internal or external. customers have a more inspiring buying experience then, because they are treated with employees that really care for them. So they buy more often. They recommend the products to others and even contribute with ideas for future products. So this generates more sales, more innovation, and less wasted resources, which end up increasing the business bottom line in different ways through this virtuous circle. So the last question to wrap up, can you say yes or no if you feel like your company is changing or has already changed any of the routines to adapt to millennial habits based on what we have discussed? Just, do you feel that it has changed, yes or no?
Okay, we'll give it a few more seconds. I've been taking notes of my own questions, Luciana, so be prepared. We have.
Yes, the most difficult part of this training was to make it like 45 minutes or so, because I have so much to say about it. It's so like you see it all the time, right? So you want to solve it.
And we have had times when we have a second round as well. So we'll see what the audience has questions about, and maybe go from there. So as we close the poll, we have
about the, the horoscope. Are you Aries or are you Gemini? Everybody is different. There are many ways that we can have profiles for people, but with age, it's kind of very easy to find out, how you behave, what are your behaviors, what are your preferences. Also, I can tell you that sometimes it's not very clear. Some people are not like, because you were born in 1985, like you are a millennial and that's it. No, sometimes, the way you were raised, or the way where you work, sometimes you are more like a Gen X, so it changes a lot. But I think that the most important here is, as you said, not just to try to focus on the generations, but try to be agile to adapt to anything, because we will keep having these changes. So we're always resisting to the previous generation. So baby boomers resisted a lot to Gen Xers, okay? And then Gen Xers resist to millennials, and then millennials will resist. Well, millennials now are like more the majority, right? But they will resist to Gen Zs as well, and this will keep happening. But we need to start thinking that, hey, everybody's different and we will have changes all the time. So we need to adapt and respect everyone. Try to focus on their strengths. On everyone has strengths. Like I've seen with many employees, like, oh, I'm a consultant, right? So sometimes I go to work with a group of 10 people and they tell me, well, no, these two guys, they never work, they don't want to do anything, they're lazy. And then you realize they are not lazy at all. Maybe that you have to find the right way for them. Okay, so it's the same way with customers. You need to customize the way you work or the way you provide a service for each customer. So customer could be an employee, could be a leader, could be anyone.
Of course, internal and external.
Exactly.
And this is a beautiful message, because I was a little bit reluctant of the webinar at the beginning, exactly because of what we just mentioned. The topic here is not just about let's learn how millennials function, or next webinar, let's learn how Generation Z functions, but it's really about the agility and adapting and the openness to accept something different, or then find a midpoint, basically, to make it work. Because we had a lot of back and forth with the audience here in the messages in the question box, where there is baby boomers who have been working with other generations and it worked pretty well, or baby boomers themselves who had the same principles. And
right.
I don't feel it was just a sheer of luck, basically. So there is a way to collaborate without even being all in the same culture, because you mentioned your experience at Zappos, and I had the same when I just went to visit HubSpot in Cambridge. And I felt like, okay, so the only one Generation Z around here, because when you talk about good culture, if you don't fit, then you are out, kind of thing. Are we trying to build a culture made of one generation, or what is that good culture? Like, what does it stand for?
Right, and no, exactly, that's the other way around. Like, and that's why I'm mentioning also reverse mentoring.
Well, I'm very early millennial, so I kind of understand a little bit of both generations around there, but I do resist a little bit to Generation Z, for example, and I have one of the comments here from Luis, who's always a good attendant for us. He's saying, so let's just go a little bit more in the details and let's try to see how can we make it better now. So as we know, Generation Z, a lot of electronic devices being used during meetings as well. So what do we do with the cell phones? Any practical tips, or how do we exactly, or practically, better to say, manage these on the daily basis? instead of just one training about awareness, and we do all of that culture understanding and all of that. But on the day-to-day basis, what would you recommend in those circumstances?
Well, that's again why I'm saying that being respectful and listening from other generations is important, because sometimes baby boomers are angry with us or with millennials because millennials are on the phone all the time, and I agree, because being respectful doesn't mean that you don't have to use the phone all the time, right? You are in a dinner or you're in a meeting and you need to listen to who's speaking. So if you're on the phone, you are being disrespectful. So these are the things that we need to consider. Yes, we need to be connected all the time, but keeping manners, keeping the good values. Okay, so we have to use the phone as a tool to communicate, but that doesn't mean that you have to communicate all the time and ignore the people that you have in front of you, right? So that's why we also, how can we adapt to that? So do we have to take their phones off in the meetings? No, maybe what we can do is we can shorten meetings, because what we have seen is, for example, that Gen Xers will never complain about long hour meetings. Many companies nowadays have maybe 5 or 6 meetings every day, 1 hour meeting. So maybe that's a good time for changing that. So maybe we can start doing small meetings, like more focused on the topic, like 10-15 minutes meeting where everybody stand up and everybody keeps the focus for those 15 minutes. Okay, exactly. And we continue working on something else, right? So okay, we have to make millennials be quiet for 15 minutes, right? So yes, it's hard, but we have to do it, right? But we have to adapt the meeting and make it shorter and make it more effective, because millennials will not want to stay there at the meeting just for nothing. They want results and they want things to keep moving. So I think that, again, we have to adapt both sides, change some rules, change some routines, and we all need to adapt to that.
And you're making me think of the meetings there. Yeah, we can have a whole season about meetings, good meetings.
Yeah.
That's another topic.
I'm going to write an article on meetings very soon, because it's a topic that is so interesting, how meetings have changed and how many companies are doing different things on that to adapt. Yeah,
that's great, and we would love to read more about it. So as we move forward, again, we went overall into saying it's not just about one generation. One of the questions kind of comment is, so would we have a plan to engage generations regardless of what kind of category do they belong to? So what would be a best way to approach this, instead of saying this plan is for millennials?
we are going to be more open, we're going to be more transparent, we're going to allow information on returns or gains or losses. We're going to share that with everyone. For example, we're going to have more boards so that we can share information, right? Then we have to train employees, leaders, and frontline employees to work this way. So many of the leaders are Gen Xers, some are already millennials, but we have to align them to how they work. They all have to, for example, I mentioned about providing more feedback, more continuous feedback, right? But maybe if the leader is a millennial, they would be more natural for them to do that. But if it's a Gen Xer, it will not be natural. So you need to build a process so that you have this continuous feedback. How can you do that? As how can the strategy do that? Maybe eliminating annual reviews, okay, and making the process more weekly, for example. So you have to start changing some of the routines from the top down, okay, so that everyone is aligned to that. And then you have to empower employees to provide ideas for improvement, okay?
Exactly.
So you have to empower them, but you have to train them so that they can really, okay, they feel free and they feel safe to provide ideas for improvement. Exactly, because sometimes companies say, yes, we're very open to ideas, we're open to change, but when you say something new or when you have an idea, well, sometimes they punish you for that. So when you don't feel safe to talk is where companies are really not changing, okay? So
yeah, and
the
you can
best
start
thing
small,
is,
but
yeah, the best thing is that you start, as I said before, start listening to your employees and see what kind of things they need. In some industries, they may need more holidays. Some other industries, on some other type of work, maybe they need different hours of operation, or they can work more online. They can have meetings on the phone. So you have to listen to what they really want, and how can the company adapt to that.
So, and that's so true. And this kind of makes me think about one last question I have. It's not just my question, but it comes around in many webinars, and we only have 3 minutes, but I want to make sure we cover this. So where does personality fall into this? Because I've felt this, I heard comments about it, intrinsic motivation.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like that intrinsic motivation changes? Of course, it changes by person to person, that's for sure. But from generation to generation, we talk about result-oriented versus more kind of people purpose sort of oriented. But I still feel like some people just have it in them. Like they really care to do a good job and to make sure that things are done. If they can be improved, they go out there and they don't see all these layers of category or roles, and they just are intrinsically motivated to do the job.
Connect. So make sure that everyone knows how how the work connect to the others, how they're part of the process. So many times people don't feel inspired or they don't feel motivated because they don't know how they are connected to each other. Okay, so how they work impact to others. So that's where purpose is so important, to make people get connected. The second one is that you help people to ask questions. Okay, don't just tell them what to do, but prone them to ask questions. Ask, hey, what is this wrong? Can we make it better? Why is it that this customer is complaining? Can we do it different way? Okay, that's the A for care. Then the R is for respect. So I mentioned this word today a lot. So respect, being really respectful. So this is where you have personalities, right? You have to respect every type of personality. You have to respect every sector. Maybe you're an engineer, and usually companies they like more engineers than designers, right? Well, everyone is important, even the one that do the janitory, or the one that
Part
is
of a chain.
yes, anyone. It needs to be respected so that we are all connected. Again, we are C for connection, the A for ask questions to everybody, the R for respecting everyone. And the last one is empower people to make changes. So you make, you ask the question to them and they want to do something. They, hey, why is this wrong? Can I do a change? And yes, empower them to make changes. So that's why we insist on this we culture, then, where everyone is respected, where everyone is empowered to make decisions or to say, hey, these are the values of the company. These are the things that I want to change. This is how I suggest to do this work. Okay. So,
and I'm glad we are closing with empowerment quote here. And with empowerment, I would say, based on experience, as you mentioned, yes, you motivated them to bring up things to change and improve. At the same time, you have to give some decision rights, because they can't just like give ideas and then you don't let them. They don't have the ownership to actually implement them, execute them.
exactly.
So, well, thank you for empowering us tonight, first of all. And I'd like to thank the participants as well, because many of questions came and I tried to summarize many of them as well. So I hope we covered everything. If not, I'm pretty sure you'll be glad to welcome more questions towards your contact as well. And today's presentation, I want to point out that it will be recorded and will be posted on our YouTube channel within this week sometime. We also post the presentation on my ASQ community. We want to point out that even if you are not a member, you still can open a free account with my ASQ and access the presentation and future webinars. Our next webinar is actually a second part of the previous webinar we had on change management. And we talked about why people resist change, and it's kind of a good connection with our topic tonight. But at the same time, we will be covering a little bit more in detail about how to overcome this resistance to change, because the audience was very curious about the practical aspect of now, okay, now I know why people resist, but I want to know also how can we overcome this. It will be on October 16, and it's already on my ASQ community page, will be shared as well through our newsletter. Our guest speaker will be my co-partner, actually, Kieran Mann, so we're very happy to have her back. And if you want to have notification about future webinars, you can follow our LinkedIn page. You can sign up on our free newsletter through our webinar website page as well. We do have a quick survey. It's about 1 minute or less. Couple of questions, just so we kind of always get some feedback and try to adapt these webinars to better fit your, to meet your needs. We do have CU credits as well for ASQ for those who have certifications. For those who attended about 40 minutes or more, you will receive a separate email from me, not just the follow-up email. You can save that email as PDF, and then you can claim your credits with ASQ. Again, thank you everybody for being here tonight and being so actively participating as we move on from one topic to another. If you have recommendations, more speakers, we always welcome the opportunity, and we'll try to provide as much as possible. Thank you, and talk to you next month. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks, Luciana, and thanks, Kieran. Bye.